You're watching.
Welcome to Out of the Fog. I'm your host, Lori Lydia Lovelace. Tonight we have a very special edition. We have with us candidate Ivy Hanley, who is running for mayor for the upcoming municipal election on October 2nd. It's going to be a great show. Stay tuned.
At Rogers TV, we know our community thrives because of the incredible people who support it. Today we want to extend a heartfelt thank you to all our amazing volunteers. Your hard work, dedication, and passion make our productions possible, bringing local stories and events to life for everyone to enjoy. Whether you're behind the camera, in the control room, or helping at events, your contributions are invaluable. Your opinion matters, and we want to hear from you. Get in touch with us using our viewer feedback line, your direct connection to shaping the shows you love. It's easy. Just grab your phone, scan the QR code on your screen, and take our quick survey. Share your thoughts, and let's make your viewing experience even better.
And welcome back. Tonight I have with me candidate Ivy Hanley with us in the studio. So Ivy, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
It's such a pleasure. And of course, you are running for the upcoming municipal election happening on October 2nd. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
I am. I'm actually running for the mayor position. My name is Ivy Hanley, and I'm a 37-year-old entrepreneur, tradeswoman, mother, artist, and the list goes on. And I'm very, very proud of my life experiences because it allows me to relate to the voters, relate to the residents, and I truly love this city. And it means the world to me to be able to have the opportunity to not only run, but to get to know everyone in this city firsthand throughout the campaign. It's been a really good time.
Excellent. And so we're just going to dive right into it. So we got a series of questions for you, of course. So what is your vision for the future of St. John's, and what specific direction would you like to see if elected?
So with St. John's and the future vision, I believe that we have open opportunity with St. John's. It's untapped potential, and I want the entire province to see our city as open for business, as open for residents, so there's places to live, to work, to play. I want to expand on recreation, and I want a positive movement in our city where we build each other up, and that goes from developers to business owners to residents to city council, where we listen to each other and we grow together. And it's really important for me because if we're able to do that, our economy can grow as well, and that is only going to benefit every single person in this province.
So you bring an entrepreneurial aspect to this election. So how do you think that would help with this election?
I think it's a small part of who I am. Some people focus a little bit too much on my entrepreneurial side. I mean, I have broken massive barriers when it comes to opening businesses in the city of St. John's with little to no funding and securing multiple businesses, developing areas and branding them and being a part of development companies. It's a massive part of why I am a good candidate for mayor. It helps me understand the barriers that other people are experiencing as business owners. And I've also listened to residents. It's been great to own a shop that's viewed on as a community hub where people come and they chat. You know, they're not just getting their milk and local eggs, right? They're also talking to each other and letting us know the struggles that they face. And I really am thankful for those experiences, but I'm also thankful for my life before that. I was a tradeswoman offshore. I traveled the world. I was a commercial diver in Ontario, a life support technician offshore, and it gave me a better understanding of working in male-dominated fields and how you can hold yourself up. And, you know, I truly believe we need more women in politics. The more diverse our council is, the better it's going to work.
Absolutely. And so we're going to be talking about affordability and the cost of living. So St. John's residents are feeling some pressure from, you know, the rising house costs, property taxes, and just the day-to-day affordability. So what's your plan to help make this more affordable for families, seniors, and young professionals?
So we obviously have the rise in materials, all those types of things, cost of employees, all of that adds up. But the one thing the city can control that I will continue to say is supply and demand. If we are cutting off supply by restricting development regulations, what is going to happen is your home assessment is going to go up. And even though our city council is happy to say the mill rate stays the same, because your assessment is rising, if there's not enough houses, you're going to pay more taxes. So we need to get that supply up. We need to move forward with development and do it in a safe way. I'm not talking about taking development and removing all regulations, but when we have regulations that developers can't financially afford to even develop with, we need to go to them and listen to the developers, the ones that are actually putting the pipes in the ground and then giving them to St. John's when they're done. It's very important to me, and I think that the residents would benefit if we can up our supply.
Absolutely. So there's lots of vacant and underused buildings that remain a challenge here in the city. So what concrete steps will you take to encourage redevelopment and renewal of these spaces?
Well, I think the first thing is we should all be asking, why is there a vacancy tax freedom for specific streets in St. John's? That does not make any sense when we are in a housing crisis, when our development for our retail sector is stagnant. We truly need to remove that freedom of, you don't have to pay tax in this area of town. And I also believe we need a little bit of management reform where we can have a little bit of a clear understanding of what properties we own, where they are in the city, and who is currently in them. And that inventory needs to be very easily accessible, and it's not right now.
Absolutely. So, many businesses and developers, like you have mentioned, say that the city's permit process is, slow and delayed. So how would you initiate that if you were elected?
So the first thing I'm going to do is revisit all the documents that have been sent by multiple different home builders associations, multiple different developers that have asked for specific changes into the DDM, the design manual. That's the first thing. The second thing I want to look at is we got $10.4 million March of 2024 to speed up development and permitting processes. They say that the new online permitting program is going to be available in April, but is it going to include city accountability on it? Without accountability, humans aren't going to perform as well as they could. So if we have a permitting accountability where there's a running total of the amount of permits we've given out this year for each different zone, if we have accountability when it comes to employees making comments on specific projects, but we can trace it back to maybe an employee number for privacy reasons, but we can see, why are we sending these comments back to all departments when it was just one that had the issue? It should just go back to that one employee, and that's why employee tracking is so important. And this isn't about, the employees not doing their job. I truly feel the City of St. John's employees, if they were given a bit more flexibility, a bit more responsibility, and also a bit of accountability, that we're going to have higher output. And that's the business side of me. I'm a manager.
No, it's great to see that and addressing those concerns. So another big thing that we're seeing is the growing concern about crime, addiction, and safety in the downtown area and beyond. And I know this is something you're certainly advocating for. So while policing is more provincial, what would you think the city's involvement should be in those areas?
So this is a big one for me. I might go over my 2 minutes.
That's okay. That's totally okay.
So when it comes to crime and addictions, I am happy that the conversation has started.
Yeah.
That's, we can all ask ourselves, have we had the conversation in 8 years? It didn't happen overnight. I live in the west end of St. John's. I'm in the thick of it. I speak to residents that are struggling with homelessness and addictions almost on the daily. And I've also visited the programs that are attempting to support them with limited resources. So I have compassion for these people, But I do know that the city of St. John's has chosen for 8 years not to move on this. They have not spoken about it. And now that the elections are up, it is coming up. But we have a section in the St. John's Act 375. There was someone on VOCM today about it, actually. And
I know exactly what you're referring to, actually. Yes.
And it gives the city powers to, for example, evict someone out of a building that is using it for a drug house where they're constantly selling drugs. I mean, we've all seen the videos online. People lined up waiting to purchase them, and the city is silent on it. I've met seniors in affordable housing that are self-policing. They're sitting in camp chairs, taking turns at 70, 80 years old, watching out for other residents that the city has put in there that are selling drugs in their building. Yeah. And I do think the city needs to look at themselves and say, while we understand it's a provincial issue, if the province isn't moving on it, use the City Act to its full extent. It is there for the city to use, and we need to stop this problem before it gets out of hand. There's already children putting blackout curtains in their classrooms. Yeah. That's not St. John's. No. That's not who we are as people, and that's not who we are as community, and we need to bring that back. So let's support those. I want to see the province to come in and say, you know what, we provided $1 million worth of drug paraphernalia to the province, and we're the densest city. So guess who got most of it? It was us. Yeah. If they're going to do that, I ask them to provide on-demand rehab. Yeah. That's not forced rehab. I don't appreciate people putting that word in my mouth either, sorry. It's on-demand rehab. So if someone's ready to make that decision, to make that change, let's give them the opportunity to do it. Let's provide shelters in our city that are drug-free, because they don't exist right now. And I don't understand how we can continue to watch our provincial partner hand out these goods with no exit plan. So I am going to ask for an exit plan, and I am going to advocate for more accountability and responsibility on the subject.
Excellent. Yeah. I knew this was a big topic, so thank you for that, Jess.
When you live in, when you live in the area, you get truly passionate about it. And I think the city of St. John's needs a bit of energy, and they need a bit of passion, because we're not going to have change if we continue with the status quo.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. So moving ahead, so where do you see the biggest opportunities for economic growth in St. John's?
Well then, it just jumped right from the one subject to the other. Yeah. So for economic growth is 100% in development.
Absolutely.
We don't have a single crane in the sky, except for if you consider the one using sea containers down in the port. Yeah. That's not for building development. Yeah. You go fly over Halifax, you're going to see at least 10, if not more. Yeah. That is a true sign of economic growth. And we need to not be scared of growing upwards and providing higher density, because that's going to give us a higher tax base. We're going to be able to provide more social services like these, affordable units we need, or shelters that are drug-free, or more community centers. All of that is done from our residential tax base. So if we're going to up that, we need to up our density. And we can do that with preserving our heritage. It's very important that our downtown core and surroundings heritage is preserved.
Absolutely. And continuing on with the economy and being an entrepreneur yourself, so what support would you provide to local entrepreneurs, small businesses, and other tradespeople if you were elected?
I think the first thing would be to say to all management and all council and sit together and say, let's change the narrative. Let's create a positive movement, because it has not been a positive movement for the majority of business owners. I myself, at times, have regretted opening stores in my own city. Would I take it back? No. I absolutely love this city, and I mean, we've all seen, I went to court with the city of St. John's and won twice. I'm not afraid of standing up for what's wrong, but I want business owners and developers in our city to grow the city for the residents. And they're not going to be able to do that if they don't walk into City Hall going, I'm excited to work with the city today. And that is my goal, positive working relationships.
Love that, yeah. So moving on to infrastructure, services, and accessibility. So from snow clearing to potholes, residents often judge the city on those bases. So what do you see the biggest service gaps being, and how will you improve them without dramatically increasing costs?
So I do believe on council, we need a diverse council. I think it's very important to have social workers there. We need teachers. We need engineers. We need possibly developers. We need business owners. And if we're going to continue making these infrastructure changes and making decisions on them with not a diverse council, that's not going to help us. And I really, really have appreciated a lot of points that have come from a lot of the developers with the DDM and, you know, sidewalks and the different designs we can do to update our city. And I would be reaching out to those that are more educated on that side of things to show us how things are done differently. I've traveled the world, and I am proud to say that I've seen many, many cities, even older than ours. And they have their infrastructure so far ahead of St. John's. And those are the ones we need to go to and say, how are you doing it? What can we do to match you, to improve our own city? Being a mayor, a business owner, a manager isn't about knowing all the answers. It's about having the willingness to seek out the correct answers. And that is who I am as a person.
And speaking about accessibility, so that obviously tends to be a barrier, especially in St. John's. So, you know, from sidewalks to public facilities. So what specific actions will you take to make St. John's more accessible for people with disabilities?
Well, the first thing is density. If you want to quickly be able to access doctors, grocery markets, pharmacists, anything like that, you need to be close to them. To be close to them, we have to have mixed-use density. That's very, very important. That's the first thing. The second thing is we have Water Street that they've already spent time looking at how to redesign it as a one-way. We have a street that people can't get back down properly during the summer months if they are using a mobility aid. And even in the winter months, we've got sidewalks that are up and down, up and down. So are we afraid of moving forward with changes? Are we afraid to consider a one-way so that we can have wider sidewalks, bring them up to every doorway so we don't have the ramp issues, opening public washrooms? We've completely forgotten about the public who want to spend time in our downtown core. And I'm excited to review these plans that have been done in the past that we've spent a lot of money on and have just been put on a shelf with dust.
Excellent. So moving on next to climate and environment. So of course we had the wildfires this summer, and of course we are prone to having adverse climate changes, especially the weather here. So how would St. John's prepare for infrastructure and budget for these types of situations?
Well, I think right now we're over budgeting when it comes to water detention. And a lot of residents might not understand that those massive craters in front of their subdivisions are actually for a flood that could happen once every 100 years. But they are over-engineered. And that's coming from multiple developers. We have places like New Brunswick that actually utilize them for other things, not just a closed-off pond that's not being maintained by the city once it's handed over. So I do think that we have amazing people down at the City of St. John's that have made plans for these environmental changes. But we also need to stop sometimes and say, did we overplan this? Now, when it comes to water, we have been proven this year, and I mean the town of Torbay, that is utterly, it's scary. And CBS also lost water, and that was because of dated infrastructure. I've seen so many times where we've done construction here in our city, and we have water lines that are nearing the end of their life, but they're not replaced. And I'm just wondering, how mapped out are our water lines and sewer lines and their ages? And if they're nearing their age and we're ripping up a road, we need to replace that now, before 5 years from now when it is going to burst and then more people lose water. I do think that there's great people down at the City of St. John's, and we do have many things in place, but it is time to review them.
And speaking of reviewing, how would you manage the budget to make sure that everything is allocated correctly?
So the budget was balanced, which is an awesome thing. But we need more funds for infrastructure. Our city is old. We need to update the infrastructure. More people need water. I would like to review many things. One of those would be St. John's Sports and Entertainment. In 2021, 2020, we did $850,000 of payouts.
Wow.
Payouts. That is a direct line of mismanagement. And as a business owner, that scares me. It scares me that the Mary Brown Center is costing millions of dollars for taxpayers, and we're continuously upping the advertising budget. It was $200,000 for years, and then for the last 2 years, they brought it up to almost $700,000, and we're still losing $4 to $5 million a year on Mary Brown Center. So if taxpayers are wondering, can we grow this city? We can with proper management. And I truly believe we can find many, many ways to save so that we can grow social services, we can grow infrastructure, and I also believe we can use the City of St. John's Act much more to our power.
And speaking about using that, so we see a lot of times people feeling disconnected or not being heard within the public. So what reforms would you bring to improve transparency, accountability, and efficiency if elected?
Well, one would be the permitting system. While it may not be in the plan, because I don't know the plan right now, I'm still waiting on an ATIP for it. If it's not included in it, it would have timeline accountability for the City of St. John's. It would have employee accountability, obviously with an employee number, so that we can provide privacy. And I think that would be the first thing that's going to help residents feel heard. They can see that their comment hasn't been responded yet, but it's been sent to employee 996, right?
Right.
And then when it comes to council is a whole nother ballgame. We, right now, have councillors only need to visit the chambers once every 3 months, I believe. I might be a little off on that, but it's around once every 3 months, and they hold their position.
Yeah.
We need councillors engaged. And whether that means saying maybe it's time that we look at council, are they fulfilling their requirements? Are they being managed appropriately? I do think everyone works the best to their ability. Councillors are a part-time position, and it is very hard to support a singular ward while you're also working another part-time job.
Imagine.
And I thank all councillors for the work they've done, but if we want to attract more people to run in elections, because I can tell you right now, if elected, in 4 years, I want more people running. We desperately need a bigger slate of candidates for every election, because a more diverse council is going to be a more inclusive one.
Absolutely. So how important is it to hear, the people of St. John's, their voices, and to be heard, and what initiatives would you also make sure that that does happen?
So that they can be heard. I think accountability when it comes to our councillors, they are elected to be their voice.
Absolutely.
Because, our engineers down at the city, our financials, our HR, our management, they do not have the time, I would assume, to answer each phone call from their ward. But that is what our councillors are there for. Right. They're there to be the voice. So, if the councillors aren't taking the phone call, I will be available. I've been available this entire campaign. I may take a few days to make a phone call back, but that's
human.
That's human, and honestly, I'm thankful for it, because it's been a massive, massive wave of support, and I do believe the city is ready to change the status quo, and they're ready for change and innovation.
What does success look like for you?
Success? I don't know if I will ever feel success. I'm not that type of person. I've gone from being a commercial diver in my early 20s and a life support technician and succeeding in that and moving forward and up in the ranks. But then, I wanted to get into my artist role, and I went and got professionally trained as a cake designer, opened a company in that, which I met you at a modeling shoot about. And then I had children, and I experienced also single motherhood, which allows me to be more relatable. And then I decided to brand the Brookfield District, open a store against all odds with no funding, and a flower shop, and then continue to design a daycare, work through the permitting system with Nidus Development. I don't believe that I will truly feel success. I feel happiness hearing other people's happiness.
I love that.
And I guess I can say that's where I see success. If someone tells me that I made a difference in their life, I want to continue to do that.
Excellent. So at this time, we're going to give you a little over a minute to just, tell your voters why they should trust you with this vote and why you would be the best person to represent Newfoundland in this upcoming election.
I'd like to tell voters that I am giving up what I poured my blood, sweat, and tears into opening Urban Market and Teresa James Floral, and watching development grow and flourish by building a daycare and being a part of the Cove bouldering. I am doing this not for personal gain. This is solely because I am raising my children in this city. I have listened to residents and other shop owners who are struggling to grow in this city. And I am the type of person that cannot sit back in a kitchen and complain. That's not who I am. I believe that legislation was written by someone, and it is possible to rewrite the legislation. It is possible to look at innovative ideas and not be scared of them. It's possible to push other business owners up and raise them and help them. And it's possible to make a safer St. John's for residents. And if that means having the hard conversations about safe injection sites, about province providing goods, I'll have them. I will have every conversation needed for the city of St. John's. I'm relatable to 99.9% of residents, and I humbly ask for their vote for mayor so that I can make a change and we can break the status quo.
That is excellent. And Ivy, thank you so much for being here and answering our questions this evening.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And we'll be right back after this short break.
This is Rogers TV. You're watching Rogers TV St. John's.
Thanks for tuning in to tonight's episode. We want to thank our guest, Ivy Hanley, who is running in the municipal election on October 2nd. And Rogers TV is going to be right here doing a live broadcast of the results on that night. So don't forget to vote and tune in. Until next time, much love.
You're watching Rogers TV St. John's.
My dad was a railway porter. It was just about the only job a black man could get. But he had big plans for us. Music would be our ticket out of poverty. I knew we couldn't afford that piano, so I practiced twice as hard.
Nice, Daisy. Okay, Oscar, let's hear it.
Turns out, I wasn't half bad. Then I found jazz, or it found me. It wasn't all easy, though. I faced a lot of hate. But I found my stage. They call me the man with 4 hands. Well, I don't know about that, but let's see how far this ticket takes me.
From Montreal to Carnegie Hall and far beyond, Oscar Peterson became one of the most recorded and celebrated jazz musicians of all time.
After a night out with your friends, there's always options for getting home safely. You could call your BFF, your mom or dad, whoever you can count on for a safe ride home. You could call your favorite cab company or 1-888 taxi guy. Or you could use the Arrival Live smartphone app to help you choose your ride. Be it a friend, transit, or taxi, getting home safely is app easy. Now available for iOS and Android devices. Visit arrivallive.org to find out more. Arrival Live, drive sober.